The diner was nearly empty that gray afternoon, the kind of silence that hums when life slows down between the rush hours. A faint hum of country music played from the old jukebox, and the air smelled of coffee, bacon grease, and tired dreams. The chrome counters reflected a world that had long lost its shine. That's when she walked in, a young woman, maybe in her late 20s, with tangled hair pulled back in a messy bun, her sweater too thin for the October chill, and a little girl clinging to her chest like a lifeline. Her eyes darted around, desperate, nervous, but polite, as if she didn't belong there and knew it. In the corner booth, 3 bikers sat. Leather jackets, heavy rings, tattoos crawling up their arms like dark memories. They were the kind of men people avoided eye contact with. The leader, a broad man in his 40s with a rugged face and fiery red beard, sat closest to the window. His name patch read Red Dog. His eyes, sharp but tired, scanned the diner lazily. He stirred his coffee without much interest, unaware that fate was about to stir something far deeper inside him. Before we dive deeper into this story, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of a good heart, then please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it. Because sometimes, one simple story can remind the world that humanity still exists. The woman sat 2 booths away from the bikers, clutching her little girl close. The waitress approached her with a weary smile, the kind reserved for regulars who can't afford much. "Just coffee, please," the woman whispered, her voice trembling. The waitress nodded, understanding without asking. The little girl's eyes, bright yet tired, scanned the plates passing by. Scrambled eggs, fries, bacon. Her stomach let out a small, audible growl that made her mother's face flush with shame. Red Dog noticed. At first he tried to ignore it. He'd seen his share of hardship, years on the road. Broken homes, lost friends. But something about that child's small face tugged at a thread deep inside him. Maybe it was the way she looked at the food. Maybe it was how her mother held her, fiercely protective, the way only a mother who's had to fight for every meal can. He pushed his plate away, half-eaten. "Ain't hungry," he muttered. One of the other bikers, an older man with gray streaks in his beard, raised a brow. "You sick or something, Red?" Red Dog didn't answer. He just kept looking at the woman, who now tried to distract her daughter with a napkin folded into a small bird. The child smiled weakly, her eyes still glancing toward the food she couldn't have. The waitress returned with the woman's coffee, placing it gently before her. "You want me to warm it up?" she asked. The woman hesitated. "No, this is fine, thank you." A few minutes later, the bikers were ready to leave. As Red Dog stood, his heavy boots thudding against the tiled floor, he noticed the woman glancing toward the leftovers on his plate. Her lips parted, and for a second, she looked like she wanted to say something, but then she turned away. As he reached the counter to pay, he heard her soft voice behind him, almost like a prayer. "Excuse me, can I take the leftovers for my daughter?" The diner fell silent. Even the jukebox seemed to hold its breath. The waitress froze mid-step. The little girl looked up, confused, then buried her face in her mother's sweater. Red Dog turned around slowly. Everyone expected him to laugh, maybe say something crude, maybe just walk away. But he didn't. He just stood there, his rough hands gripping the counter, his eyes softening in a way no one in that diner had ever seen before. Without a word, he walked back to the table, sat down again, and waved the waitress over. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "bring the menu again. I think we're going to need some more food." The woman looked up, startled. "No, please, I didn't mean—" But Red Dog raised a hand gently. "You didn't do nothing wrong." He looked at the little girl and smiled faintly. "What's her name?" The woman hesitated, then whispered, "Lily." He nodded. "Pretty name." Then he turned to the waitress. "Bring Lily here a plate of pancakes, extra syrup, and some milk. Hot, not cold, it's chilly today." The waitress, still a bit stunned, nodded and hurried away. The little girl peeked out from her mother's arms, shyly watching as the food arrived. The smell filled the air, sweet, warm, comforting. Her tiny hands trembled as she reached for the fork, and Red Dog gently pushed the plate closer to her. "Eat up, kiddo," he said softly. "No rules in my booth." The mother's eyes welled with tears. "You don't have to—" "I know," he interrupted, his voice steady. "But sometimes, it ain't about what we have to do. It's about what we're supposed to." As Lily ate, her laughter began to fill the booth. A small, bright sound that cracked through the cold air of the diner. The other bikers watched silently. One of them, the man in the back with a long gray ponytail, wiped his eyes discreetly. When Lily was done, Red Dog asked the waitress to pack a few more meals for the road. Burgers, fries, even a slice of pie. Something tells me they got a long walk ahead, he said. The woman tried to refuse, but her voice broke. We've been staying in the car behind the gas station, just until I find work. She swallowed hard. My husband left. I'm trying, I really am. Red Dog didn't reply for a moment. He just nodded slowly. You don't owe nobody an explanation, but you don't gotta sleep in a car tonight either. She looked up, confused. He reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out a folded set of bills, and placed them on the table. There's a small motel 2 blocks down. Tell 'em Red Dog sent you. They'll give you a room, hot shower, real bed. You and the little one deserve that. Her lips trembled. Why are you doing this? He smiled faintly, a sadness flickering behind his eyes. Because once, a stranger did it for me. The room was silent again. The waitress turned away, pretending to clean the counter, tears in her eyes. The other bikers sat quietly, the weight of the moment pressing on their hardened hearts. As Red Dog stood to leave, the little girl jumped up and ran after him. She tugged at his leather vest, her small fingers brushing against the patch that read "Loyal till the end." Thank you, she whispered. He crouched down, his rough hand resting on her shoulder. You be good to your mama, all right? She's a tough lady, tougher than any biker I know. She nodded solemnly, then hugged him, quick, tight, and pure. For a man who'd seen more fights than hugs in his lifetime, that one small gesture shattered something deep inside him. He cleared his throat, stood up, and walked out into the cold afternoon. The sound of his motorcycle engine roared through the quiet streets, but somehow it didn't sound as loud as before. The waitress came over to the woman's booth, eyes still glistening. You know, she said softly, that man used to come here every week, never spoke much. Lost his wife years ago. Folks say he hasn't smiled since. But today, you brought it back. The woman looked out the window, watching the distant figure of the biker riding away, his jacket fluttering like a dark flag of redemption. She held Lily closer, her heart full for the first time in months. Later that night, in their small motel room, Lily fell asleep under a warm blanket, crumbs of pie still on her cheek. The woman sat by the window, staring at the streetlight glowing faintly outside. On the nightstand lay the folded bills, more than enough for a few nights, maybe even groceries. She whispered a prayer of thanks, not just for the money, but for the kindness that reminded her she wasn't invisible. Meanwhile, somewhere miles down the road, Red Dog parked his bike near the old bridge outside town. He sat there in the silence, looking at the photo of his late wife and daughter tucked inside his wallet. His fingers trembled slightly as he traced their faces. Did you see that, sweetheart? He murmured. Guess I finally did something right again. A single tear rolled down his cheek, lost to the wind. He started his bike and rode off into the night, not to escape this time, but to carry a piece of peace with him. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to help spread more stories of humanity and hope. Before you go, tell us in the comments, what's the kindest thing a stranger ever did for you? Your words might just inspire someone else to do the same. Because sometimes the smallest act of kindness, like sharing a meal or giving a smile, can change someone's entire life. And that day, in that quiet diner, a tough old biker reminded everyone that real strength isn't in the fists or the tattoos. It's in the heart that still dares to care.